Hey, I'm Mike.
Hey, I'm Chris.
This is Mike and Chris Reloaded. This week we have Crestview's only certified Ghostbuster here with us.
Yo.
Go ahead, it's Kent.
Hey, Kent. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
We also have a reoccurring guest, Dane over there.
Yeah, it's me again.
And we got Voice of the Youth with us also. Probably doesn't know much, but we'll teach him.
Youth of a Nation.
Yeah, Trent's here, that's good. So we're going to go over the Ghostbuster films this week. We're going to start off with 1 and 2 and then work our way into the new one that just released in theaters here.
First of all, before we get started, I had a question for Kent as a Ghostbuster. How is Elvis, and have you seen him lately?
Always the best. Always the best. Ghostbusters 2 reference question for a Ghostbuster. I have not, and he's not dead.
Well, thanks for answering that for us.
He's Bruce Campbell.
It's Bruce Campbell.
A lot of people don't know this. The Ghostbusters do endorse Bubba Hotep.
Well, let's go on to the first movie here. My biggest thing was, you got the iconic library scene. That's
New York Library, the opening.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I mean, that's one of my childhood memories, is that library scene.
It's a pretty frightening memory.
Yeah, it's fun memory, though. I mean, what was their big plan? Everybody know?
Big plan?
Get her.
Yeah, get her.
Well, that was right after the listen, do you smell something?
Yeah.
Never made sense.
But Ghostbusters, they all lose their job at the university, and they move on, and poor Ray has to mortgage his house in order to open up Ghostbusters.
Everybody has 3 mortgages these days.
Here's my first trivia question. Do you know the interest rate that Ray was paying?
I don't know the exact, but it's really funny because it was really low for what today is.
No, it was high.
Not for today.
It was 19%.
At 19%, you didn't even bargain with the guy. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. So normal for today.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Now, does everybody remember what their phone number was?
Oh my goodness! There is your trivia question you got me busted with.
Is it?
There was a lot of. It's 1-800.
Well, it started. It was 555-2368, but they turned it into a 1-800 number, and Ray and Venkman were actually on the other end of the line.
Golf tap
where
for that.
Everybody could call during Ghostbusters and see and listen to their voice. I thought that was pretty cool.
It was a big thing in the 80s. There was a lot of different call-in services. There was, I don't know if you remember this, it's not exactly Ghostbusters, but it would just be this jack-o'-lantern sitting on a fence, and it would kind of light up and talk to you.
Yeah.
Tell you to call in, get your parents' permission, all that. It would just tell you some random campfire story.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But we had a lot of interactive stuff at the time, even though we didn't have the internet.
I love the 80s.
I just rewatched all 3 of these movies here. And
all 3? Rewatch?
Yeah, I watched 3 of them, and there's 3 of them. And my thing I picked out of the movies was, did you guys notice the early advertisements that were in? I mean, I know they do that nowadays, but back in the 80s, I didn't think they plugged merchandise as hard as they did. They plugged Budweiser and
Dan Aykroyd was basically the Marlboro Man.
Yeah.
In fact, all of them are. That's a big thing to take attention to in 1 and 2. In 1, they're pretty much all chain smoking. Bill Murray, at one point Ernie Hudson's smoking. Mm-hmm. Dan Aykroyd is almost smoking consistently in every scene. There's even a gag where he pulls his head out of the engine of the Ecto-1 with a cigarette dangling from his mouth.
Didn't smoke.
He didn't. There's a true story to that. But
God rest his soul.
God rest his soul, indeed.
Oh, bless his heart.
Yeah. What was the? Oh yeah, Egon, but not forgotten.
Yeah.
But yeah, the big difference in that was the smoking to non-smoking, because by the time Ghostbusters 2 came out, there was an anti-smoking kick for it. But product placement's been prevalent in films for some time.
I didn't notice it until I just watched these.
Wayne's World did it best, I think.
I mean, they plugged Cheez-Its in this one too, I saw.
What about the Twinkie?
Yeah, the Twinkie.
Yeah. What about the Twinkie?
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, and they're selling the Ecto-1 Twinkies now again, aren't the green slime Twinkies?
Fun fact.
That's just they're doing that, but he's talking about the original Ghostbusters.
Twinkie line.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Line. Well, just like in the new one, they plug Pringles.
Yeah.
Salty Parabolas. Yes,
Yeah.
that was definitely plugged.
So,
So out of Ghostbusters 1, what was your favorite part of the movie, do you think? I mean, what part really sticks in your head?
I would have to say some of the most iconic lines come from two spots in the film. First one being the conversation about Fuzzy on the whole good-bad thing. So catching Slimer at the Preston Hotel. That would be the first iconic scene. Second, of course, being the reveal of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, in which they turned to I wouldn't say their leader, but at least the gentleman they came to for answers, being Egon.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he was terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought. That's a darn good line. And even though the new movie was really, really good, and it's got some really great gags and moments, I don't think there was enough verbiage, per se, that was as iconic. They definitely had their own. They definitely did great. I know we'll get into that in a bit. It just... not as quotable, not something you're going to get tattooed on your butt, so to speak.
Right. My favorite part of the movie was it Ray's blowjob?
Oh, wow. And that was a throwaway idea that actually had a whole nother storyline arc that got thrown away.
I'm just a little concerned that's Mike's favorite part of the movie.
Hey.
So I'm just saying.
Honey, if you hear me...
They do that?
Well, ethereal
probably
blowjobs is definitely some unexplored science.
For a PG movie.
That was basically part
Once
of the entire.
again,
That was basically
80s.
part of the entire montage.
80s.
Yeah, it's before the rating systems and everything else.
Also
I mean,
true. Also
but
true.
it was
Although,
an 80s
wasn't it PG? I'm sure
Yeah,
you
it
guys
was
have this.
PG.
Yeah.
But you got away with a lot of stuff in the 80s and PG.
Yeah.
But there was no real PG-13 at the time.
How long do you think in the morning would it take to tell the difference between you and the ectoplasm on the sheets?
Well, there is more.
That's a fair question. I mean, does the scratch and sniff test apply?
I don't think I would try it.
I would not.
So basically, the principle of the movie is they got to kill. They got Gozers coming back. What?
Gozer's coming back?
Well, they're Gozers being.
Well, yeah.
Brought
He's
in
definitely being brought in. There's things in
The
play. Some sort of
Keymaster,
Sumerian god is going to come back and cause all this havoc in New York because, well, if you like Ghostbusters or Doctor Who or anything else, things only happen in New York or London.
Right.
Gozer, obviously, and dogs and cats living together.
Mass
Yeah.
hysteria.
Mass hysteria.
Letdown line in the new film.
And Ray seems to be the comic relief, I think, of the thing. He's the one that actually thinks of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Oh, and that is the comic relief. But if I may, to classify the Ghostbusters as an Uber fan, every single one of them was a part of a body.
Right.
Egon's the brain, obviously. Peter's the mouth. Okay. And Ray is the heart of the Ghostbusters. He's like full of childlike wonder, no matter what. They see a crap hole fire station, he sees a cool pole.
Yeah.
You know.
Can I ask a question?
What's that?
What's Winston?
The workhorse. Literally everything else. Originally, he was supposed to be Eddie Murphy.
Yep, I was going to ask you. That was one of my trivia questions.
Oh, well, yeah, he was Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, Eddie
he
Murphy.
declined.
And yeah, he was actually, Eddie Murphy was, funny story was Eddie Murphy was actually the one that was supposed to get slimed in the beginning scene.
Yeah.
Also true.
Because-
Also true.
But
And,
then they went with Venkman
I
instead.
believe Eddie Murphy went on to go make another movie.
Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop.
At the time.
Right?
Seemed to have made some money.
Yeah, seemed to have been.
In fact,
Seems
Beverly
to
Hills
have.
Cop came out the same time, same year Ghostbusters did.
And
Absolutely.
was number 1 on the charts, I think,
Mhm.
when Ghostbusters was number 2.
Yeah, it's one of the things I think we need to keep in mind through the whole review, that as much as Ghostbusters is beloved, it's part of American society. It's just something that we know. When I used to dress up as a Ghostbuster in California, people would literally pull out of traffic to pull over and ask me if I was a Ghostbuster. So I mean and a lot of people didn't do cosplay at the time, or cosplay, however you say it. That was, there you go. It wasn't a thing. So me looking like an idiot on the side of the road warranted attention. But there's just, Ghostbusters are just accepted anywhere you go.
Universal.
Kind of a deal. But that being said, these were low budget films.
Yeah, I know.
They had incredibly low budgets. And,
like what they used for the marshmallows. I mean,
Shaving foam.
Yeah, shaving foam. That was their marshmallows. And I guess they
Marshmallows are
what's his name? They said what's
Peck.
Yeah, they dumped like 50 gallons of shaving foam on top of him. or something.
500. And they
500?
also told him what they would do to start was 49 to 50 gallons.
Oh, really?
Just because he was worried about the metric weight of foam, I guess. You know, it's the 80s, whatever. So they told him, yeah, we're just going to do this little test. It'll be like a 5-gallon bucket. So he's like, okay. So that reaction you see in the film where he screams and curses, that's legit. They just did it all in one take. Like, to heck with you, dude.
That's funny.
You gotta go for authenticity.
So, but I mean, Ghostbusters 1 was a good movie. I would say for sure. It's
Good
definitely.
camp.
If you haven't seen it, I don't know where you've been living, but
Yeah, Trent.
Under a rock?
Youngins.
yeah, you haven't seen Ghostbusters 1.
Yeah, I've
Yes,
seen
he-
1 and 2.
All right.
Haven't seen the reboot though.
He's
Yep.
going to watch it tomorrow, though,
Yeah,
aren't you?
tomorrow.
Oh, well, if you're going to watch it, then... All right, never mind.
Yeah, you're cool. We'll keep you around.
Yeah, cool.
So let's talk about Ghostbusters 2. Unless there's anything about Ghostbusters 1 that we didn't hit on.
No?
There's a lot that we probably didn't hit on, but I mean, there's so
Oh,
much
yeah.
you can keep talking about. But yeah, it's just it's almost, in my eyes, it kind of gave you everything you wanted to see: action, fantasy,
Romance?
It did, and a lot of, like you were saying, you know, for what it wasn't like a big budget thing, it wasn't whatever, but it still gave you every point that every person was looking for in a movie.
Yeah.
Chills, thrills, spills.
Yeah, comedy.
Mhm.
It gave you
Lots of
everything.
comedy as a child.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
Zoe.
you know, it's one of those movies that may not be like, you know, Avatar-esque or whatever, super blockbuster, but it's one of those movies that always going to live with us no matter where we are, what we do, or whatever.
Right. So Ghostbusters 2, that a film they probably shouldn't have made, in my opinion, or they should have done something different with, because I didn't care too much for Ghostbusters 2.
It's the low end of the stick, I'm not going to lie.
So the movie starts off with red ooze coming up from the ground from
It was more
a
pink.
sewer.
Yeah, I was going to go with pink. Red was... I was
Pink.
going to let him have red because that actually gave it some credit. But, yeah...
Pink and the baby stroller running through it, and then all of a sudden Dana's baby goes sweeping in and out of traffic.
No, yeah. Ghosts only mess with Dana Barrett. It's very well known.
I know.
Fun fact.
Sigourney Weaver's a pain in the butt. Ghosts don't like her.
And aliens.
Mostly aliens.
I think the only part about the beginning I like was Ray and Winston were stuck doing kids' birthday parties for money. I thought that was good humor
Gotta do what
there
you
that I
gotta do
enjoyed.
sometimes.
And the sweet He-Man reference.
Yeah.
Can't let that go.
Who you gotta call? He-Man.
Hey,
He-Man.
now this is an important part to bring up, especially since you bring up that scene. It's not something that's widely looked at as fans or as moviegoers, but nowadays where everything has a universe. There's the Marvel universe, the DC universe, and now even with the new movie, if you noticed when you went to go see it, it said Ghost Corps before Ghostbusters, and you're even sitting there going, is this called Ghost Corps? Was it, what? No, it's a production company that Sony put up just to make sure that there's people in charge of their universe. Now, all that being said, why do Winston and Ray have Ray Parker Jr.'s theme song? Did he ever come in and record it for the Ghostbusters? Did they ever acknowledge that it existed in the first film? And that's actually a little bit of trivia for you that you didn't bring up in the first movie. We call them proton packs. We love them. They're called proton packs till the day we die.
Man, I'm
Yeah.
down that.
Never referenced once in the first film. The word proton pack is never used. Much like Scotty, beam me up, has never been said. But
Right.
everybody knows that line. They weren't called proton packs.
Right.
They were just the packs.
Yeah. Scotty Beam Me Up didn't actually happen until like the second movie, I think, wasn't it?
Even that, it has... Scotty, beam me up has never been used.
I
No,
think
that's a
Beam-
whole nother show. We're Ghostbusters
I
today.
don't know, but I think
But look it
Beam
up.
Me Up Scotty. So there you go. Everybody look it up and Google it. We're not gonna
Source of contention here.
Google, post on YouTube, Facebook, whatever you want.
Please do.
Shut down.
Prove me wrong, prove Kent wrong.
Use the Google machine.
So Ghostbuster 2, it also starts off, Egon's in charge of a theoretical research facility.
Okay.
Looks like a
Peter's the
fucking-
TV host for Psychic Now.
World of the Psychic, yes.
World of the Psychic,
Mhm.
yeah. Dana works for an art restoration company.
She does, yes. And she's kind of let her cello playing go to a back seat. That's important to know.
Right, yeah, she...
Oscar's really been a huge, problem with her.
hmm Well, she's talking about going back to do it in the movie.
She wants to. And you notice she has a full-time nanny. I mean, she doesn't have to feed, coddle, rock, or care for her child.
Yeah, art restoration must pay pretty good because I can't afford it.
In New York. of
Well,
all
I think that
places.
played a lot into Janisch, though. I think Janisch really
Janisch.
wanted a bit of the Barrett.
Just
Right. So,
She was making more than 70% of her male counterparts, is what I'm saying.
right, I understand. I understand. So Janisch, like, you bring him up. I think that is absolutely the worst accent I have ever heard out of a human being in my entire life.
Well, the
That's
only-
interesting. Now, I do believe a couple of shows back, I don't know if it was 2 or 3, you did cover the Bebop and Rocksteady movie, right?
Yeah. we
Okay.
did.
So I'm going to say Tyler Perry may take the worst
Okay,
accent
yeah.
in a film like this.
Yeah, but I mean,
Take
that
it off the
accent
Janisch.
was pretty bad.
But
so-
he was from the Upper West Side?
Yeah.
Come on. Some of those are still YouTubeable quotes. You can look up why am I dripping in Das Goose?
Yeah.
And you can look up Upper West Side
Right.
without even using Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Janisch has kind of got his own following. He was even featured in the Sanctum of Slime video game on the 360 and the PS3.
Really? I did not know that.
I own it.
That's info for me. You own it?
Yeah. I re-downloaded it today, actually.
I will also preface this with it's not a good game.
So
Never said it was great.
So
No.
basically, the principle of this movie is Vigo the Carpathian is wanting to come back through a painting. He wants to take over a baby child.
Mhm.
He
Wants
wants
to
to
be
be reborn. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Reborn into the, and it just happens to be Dana's child. So.
And there was no other kids that looked like Waldo around.
Oh, and now I'm lost
Hey.
on the quote. It's something is a door, death is but a window, I will be back.
Right.
As he was being beheaded.
Mhm, mhm.
Very interesting fact is actually Vigo the Carpathian was actually a real person.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, so he was a 17th century magician, to be exact.
It's
Mhm. So, the whole witch hunt thing, the whole, he
Yep.
figured out sparklers before we did, that kind of thing.
Right, exactly. So,
My thing is you look at the movie how they go down in the sewer and you got this river of slime that's supposed to be all the negativity in New York and everything else.
Sure.
Can you imagine that nowadays?
I can imagine it in the South.
I believe there's actually a technical name for it.
The South.
No, it's called Facebook.
Yeah.
It's called
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I can't live without Facebook.
You go in a regular person, you come out a judge. Because it doesn't matter what you hear, or if you know everything,
I can't
you
talk
judge.
on Facebook a whole lot because that's where our
Well,
show
I'm
is
not
posted
saying
at.
Facebook is bad.
Hello,
I'm saying it's a
everybody.
river of emotions
It
that
is.
people share with one another.
Yes, it is. But
Sorry, Facebook.
No worries. I mean, so they did a couple cameos in that movie. Slimer
Mhm.
got a cameo,
Mm-hmm,
which is an interesting fact. The only reason they put him in there was to promote their
Cartoon series, yes.
Yeah,
the real
real
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters, yep.
Very good.
and it's
Active.
off Slimer.
Active.
No one ever touched on why he was in there to begin with.
Well,
Job
that's
solution.
something you
That's
guys
true.
totally skipped on the first one. Yeah, the theory being that Onion Head, as he was called on set, was the disembodied form of John Belushi, who was the original co-writer of Ghostbusters. Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi,
Well, just-
possibly on a drug-fueled weekend, came up with the concept that two men drove around in a hearse in outer space.
Right. That brings us to actually the remake here, or the
Because of the hearse, yeah.
because they actually did that as an homage to John Belushi,
Cool.
because he riding in the vehicle with the blonde-haired ghost, or blonde Slimer.
Well,
That
it's
was referencing
That was referencing
Animal
Animal
House.
House.
Animal House, as well as Ghostbusters. Slimer did drive a vehicle in Ghostbusters too.
Oh yeah.
he
He
drove
takes over the bus. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, and that takes Ramus to the museum.
Right.
So, just all of it's an homage, really. I mean,
Yeah. Really
They have
is.
Bobby Brown made an appearance in there as a doorman.
before we get
That-
too far on
He
Ghostbusters
was-
2,
He was popular back then.
he
Bobby
was.
Brown was popular then?
You know?
Ray Parker Jr. was popular once, but
That's why the trends.
I lost my thought there for a second. But Ghostbusters 2, like you said, definitely not your favorite. Ghostbusters 1 your favorite. I think they could have fixed all of Ghostbusters 2 by just renaming it more Ghostbusters. Because let's face it, we just wanted to see him put on really heavy packs and complain about stuff. Some of the best lines in the film are ad-libbed by Bill Murray, just like in part 1. The flowers are still standing. When he's screaming, wait, 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 he's not screaming to the Ghostbusters. He's screaming to the cameramen, like, film me do this. In part 2, he throws on the pack and he's like, oh, I always hated this part of the job. He's not talking about being a Ghostbuster. He hates wearing a 60-pound pack.
Right, I believe it. I mean, I know that most of the films were ad-libbed through both of them. They said about probably almost 20-30% of that film was ad-libbed.
If not more.
And mostly on Murray's side.
Yeah.
They just kind of let him run with that.
Even in the, I know we haven't got there, but even in the new one. They said that most of his lines in that one were ad-libbed.
He likes to get reactions. He likes to mess with people. I loved all his references. And, of course, as a Ghostbuster and just as a human being, I love Bill Murray.
So the end of this movie, they hose down the Statue of Liberty with positive charged slime.
Lots.
Yes, they do.
Lots.
And the power of love, or whatever the song
And the
is.
NES Advantage.
And I was going to say that next, too, yep. The NES came into there.
But the NES Advantage, and almost a Nintendo cartridge priced controller. I think it was $60 or $70 when it retailed.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
it was about
on that.
70. It was more weight.
It's rough.
To the games.
Back in the day, that's pretty pricey.
It was the idea of having an arcade stick at home, and if you remember, it had a solid steel bottom. I mean, it was really solid. I have one somewhere. Not on me.
They still last. They last.
I actually have to correct you on one thing. Like, it's not the power of love.
Well, I wasn't sure what it was. I said what?
Back to the
That's
Future.
a couple different songs there.
Your Love Taking Me Higher or something like that?
Lifting Me Higher.
Lifting
by
Me
Jackie
Higher.
Wilson is the original person singing it.
All right.
Which was referenced earlier in the film when, Mike?
You got me on that one.
The toaster, Mike.
Oh, that's right.
It sounds just like her. Is this what you guys do when I'm not around?
Yep.
Oh,
When they're making the toaster jump up and down.
It was dancing.
So, I mean, there's not much you can really say too much about Ghostbusters 2 that hasn't been said. I don't think the movie. I mean, it was what it was. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a terrible movie. I would just say that it's not my favorite thing. I wouldn't pay to see it in a movie theater.
I think that with what Kent pointed out earlier, how they're doing the anti-smoking campaign and everything else, I think they were trying to find something positive.
Yeah.
That's why they made it that way, why they made everyone come together at the end, why they did everything. I guess they're just trying to find a something simple to where it's like, oh, let's just try and make something positive out of this. And maybe it had something to do with just, that time of era.
True.
Or whatever was going on. So, we were in 89 is when the movie came out. It was a time during the Gulf War, all that stuff. So,
The first one.
you got to. I think that's the whole idea that we're trying to do is try to make something positive out of it. So, the good classic upbeat music, the positive slime, everyone coming together singing and having a good time. You know what I'm saying? Just that's my opinion on it.
It definitely was a positive spin on the first Ghostbusters that if you do have the DVD, either the 20th, the Blu-ray 4K, in the deleted scenes, there were some really serious stuff shot between Egon and Janine. Some more serious stuff with the police and the military when they come in at the end. It was supposed to be a much more darker film, much like the first Men in Black. They cut out a lot of the dialogue, literally just put in dubbing and changed it to a happy-go-lucky movie. They did the same thing with Ghostbusters, and in Ghostbusters 2, yes, they definitely made it more upbeat, more happy, everything else, but when you really sit down and look at it, it's Ghostbusters 1. It's the exact same film.
Interdimensional creature trying to come through, conquer the world.
Well, like you said, scientists, they get kicked out of their jobs, they can't work. Ghostbusters 2, we got kicked out of our jobs being Ghostbusters, we can't work, nobody believes us. We're all in hokey jobs. All of a sudden, a ghost event happens. Slimer, electrical ghosts from the courtroom. The biggest problem with me with Ghostbusters 2 is the fact that it's been 5 years since the events of the first one, and everybody in New York, and I do mean everybody, seems to have forgotten there was ghosts flying around and a 200-foot marshmallow man taking down buildings.
That's where the Men in Black.
It just didn't happen. It just didn't happen.
Didn't they say that it didn't happen? They were putting it off?
The judge who was arraigning them said that he didn't believe in ghosts and other hokey malarkey.
Yeah.
and then continued to go on to say what he'd do to them if it was the Dark Ages and all this other kind of stuff.
Right.
Does he not own a TV? Does he not have a window in his house? I mean, like, stuff was going down.
Or a newspaper.
Anything. That's kind of my point. I mean, stuff officially was going down. And again, jumping to your next film that we haven't talked about yet, when stuff goes down, even when they're told it's false, people give the Ghostbusters a love because they were there and they saw it.
Yeah.
So?
I mean, I think we can move on to the next film. Let's talk about this reboot of the movie. I personally did not want to see this film.
None of us.
I didn't want to see it. I mean, if it wasn't for this podcast right here, I would not have watched this film. And you know what? That would have been a horrible mistake on my part. I will say that
What's
right
your
now.
definition of mistake?
It was a mistake. The movie was actually decent enough to go to the theater to pay $7 to go see.
Absolutely.
It was very good, and like Kent pointed out, we were talking earlier, the 3D aspect of it was actually out there. It was great.
Yeah.
I know you can't watch 3D, Mike.
Yeah, motion sickness.
But if you guys get a chance to watch it in 3D, I would highly recommend it. There's some movies out there that are just meant for 3D, or done, and this one was it. I mean, just the action sequences on it were great.
Yep. Were you a fan of the cartoons and the movies growing up? It wouldn't even matter if the dialogue was just them saying dog for an hour and a half. Those scenes, the CGI scenes, the fighting the ghost scenes. Look, I'm an old school Ghostbuster. First part of me was incredibly pissed that I only saw him capture one ghost.
Yeah.
One ghost. Yay, you got a trap. Yay.
They let it go.
Shh, spoiler alert. I don't know what we're allowed to say.
Yeah, we're going to spoil the
Oh, we're going to spoil it?
this.
We're spoiling it, guys.
We're spoiling
Spoiler
this.
cast.
Level 5, free roaming spoilers.
Yeah, if you don't...
We announced at the beginning of this there's going to be spoilers. So.
All right, my bad.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know now...
Well, even as I say, they only catch one ghost. Let's rewind real quick to Ghostbusters. How many ghosts do you see them catch?
Well, the original Ghostbusters, they only kept Slimer.
There's montages
However,
of them
there's
carrying.
montages of them coming out with traps that
are smoking.
presumably caught ghosts.
Yeah.
And then the release of the entrapment at the very end. Obviously, the release is all set.
So we know that they were trapped, but you only see
The one
Slimer.
capture, right.
So again, much like Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2 being the same film, we're kind of in the same vein again.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree that this basically is the same film. They got fired from their job.
Mm-hmm.
But all of them, so they're unemployed again.
One way or the other.
So, I mean, they all got fired. The university cut the funding for the two, and the other one fired him because he didn't believe in ghosts and thought it was ridiculous that a tenured professor would be...
Well, Tywin Lannister is a hard butt kind of guy.
So, I mean, this was basically the same film, just rehashed with women, and it worked.
And
it did.
The characters in this movie, Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones. I don't think you could have picked a better cast, honestly. I was a little skeptical myself too. I'm just like,
sure.
You know, Ghostbusters. But I will state this right now, and I will state this on the record. Kate McKinnon's character, Holtzman, made the entire movie.
Loved her.
She absolutely made the entire movie.
She took what Harold Ramis began. She watched all of Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters, the cartoon. She put that into a blender with some Bacardi, and she went to town. She brought all the fandom of Egon into one female, and I say the cartoon so much because of her hair. That was an obvious tie-in. And I don't even mind the new movie being influenced by the cartoon, because when we were kids, when the movies were over, that's all we had was the cartoons.
Yeah.
And they were awesome. They're not, by the way. But they were awesome.
We were young, we didn't know better.
Now, this movie actually took a little bit more of a darker spin to it than the previous. I mean, the ghosts in the beginning of this movie were scary.
Well, you have to think.
I jumped at one point.
I'd say the Gray Lady, which we'll call the Gray Lady from the library in part 1, because that's her name. And let's say in the new one here, Answer the Call, I believe is the actual name of Ghostbusters. Answer the Call shows after the credits.
Yeah.
They were the same character. Just a little bit more seriousness to it. And again, something you didn't see in 3D, but the way they billowed and kind of had the fog cloud around them and everything, it almost looked like petals of a flower coming out in different directions. I mean, the ghosts were really key on. Things that looked like junk in the YouTube trailers.
Right.
So won on the big screen. And you would have never thought that.
Yeah, that's what killed me when I saw the first trailer. I was like, oh,
right.
The ghost.
Turned a lot of people off.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think they kind of took that opening scene and just like basically mocked the original scene from Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, except instead you got this old haunted house and you got a library.
Actually, I felt it was a parody of it.
Both, and I say mocked loosely. I'm just saying imitated, I guess would be another better word.
Reimagined.
Yeah, and again, it's supposed to be a reboot. So
I walked in expecting to be angry at hundreds of different moments in the film. I knew they were going for an almost direct copy. I knew they were going to try to evoke those memories. Just seeing the trailer, the overabundance of Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and Slimer made me both happy and disgusted at the same time.
Yeah.
Seeing them in play, seeing their proportions, they did everything correctly and appropriately, and I don't want to jump to the next segment, but I think one of the most important things in that film that was handled delicately and greatly, the creation of the No Ghost logo. They could have effed that up on so many different occasions.
Yeah.
And the way they did it was almost art.
Yeah.
Street art.
Yeah, street art.
Spoiler.
Yep,
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Beautiful.
Stop doing that.
I did like the fact that they updated a lot of stuff instead of just the regular proton packs.
Hey.
They had just a slew of different things to use.
Oh, yeah.
And I did like that fact that they just had old Holtzman was just going to town and making stuff left and right.
Improving stuff as she went along.
Yeah.
After each encounter.
So.
Merchandising.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
more toys to sell.
Amen.
And we made an agreement not to talk about this movie until this podcast. So this conversation is pretty fresh, but we did just before recording, we did sneak outside and I was smoking a cigarette, which is bad, I know, but we did actually briefly communicate about this particular subject, and Ken had brought up that he's glad they only used a shotgun thing once. I personally, I like the wood chipper thing.
The wood chipper thing was sweet. The plasma knuckles or the proton knuckles, whatever you want to call it, was pretty sweet. All of them were sweet to a point. But it does draw into sharp focus the issue I brought up earlier. We only see them catching one ghost. Now, as a moviegoer, if you want a popcorn flick, you just want to get into it, boom, new Ghostbusters, it's for you. If you like old Ghostbusters and you're worried about the new film, it's still for you. If you're like an uber nerd and you want to know how many decks are on the Enterprise and where the bathrooms are, you're going to have issues with the film. Are they simply just zapping them enough until they poof into slime? Are they... Because they have proton grenades.
I know.
Yeah.
What's the basis of the ectoplasmic life form? And they use different references. They do talk corporeal images. They talk about level 5 phantasms, ghosts, vapors, and spooks. But do they ever stick to that? Now, the science on the packs, that being said, was immaculate. They actually worked with MIT scientists to explain what would be needed to make an enhanced proton stream, and they put that jargon in. Whereas the first Ghostbusters, they had a lot of great ideas, but nobody knew science in the 80s, so they said, nuclear! Which they're not. They never were. They never should be. But according to the original, I have a nuke strapped to my back.
Well, that wasn't the original. I was going to say, I thought in the reboot, they said...
The
nuclear.
car was nuclear.
Yeah,
And that was how they were
that's
charging the packs. You'll notice even in certain scenes like...
They're all in that little tray where they slide them out.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was always a tray in the old, but it was just to get them out.
Yeah.
Whereas when they were pulling the equipment out in Ghostbusters 2, they said, do you think these things still work? Well, the plutonium has a half-life of 500 years, so yeah, sure. In this one, the only thing that was nuclear was a power source on top of the car, which I took to be what was powering the packs when they weren't at the Chinese restaurant, when they were all plugged into the wall. You'll notice they all had their own boxes, so they had to be charged all the time.
And I will say, and you might disagree, might agree with me, the design and evolution of the packs in this one was beautiful to me. Just and how she broke it down
Mm-hmm.
was just so spot on. I was like, and instantly thought of Kent.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's good. It's the way they, and like you said, I like the way she just kept it evolutionized it.
Yep.
Kept upgrading it.
You had 3 in total in the film. You had 3 different variations, not counting all the sub-weapons, but just of the pack itself. There were 3 iterations in one film. Whereas Ghostbusters 1 and 2, other than adding on things like the slime blower or the gigameter, which, as you all know, is just a kid's toy with 2 things stuck on the top, they never did anything with the packs. They were, hey, we got packs. First we have a video camera, now we have packs. And here, yeah, they were building it from the ground up. They didn't know what was going to happen. They're sticking like collars on Kristen Wiig. Hey, this will keep you from dying.
Yeah.
What?
Brilliant. Brilliant. In fact, this is the only bad part of the film. So I'll be the one to say it. The pack itself had more evolution, more story, and more plot than the film. Entertaining as it was, and I really do like it. Ladies, please don't be upset. This was Ghostbusters Light.
Yeah.
It's the exact same plot,
Can't disagree
without
on that.
romance, without a client. They never had a client.
Romance
Where?
between what was this, Kevin? Chris
There was no
Hemsworth?
romance.
That's called
there.
one-sided lust. You'll
Yeah,
notice
that was
even during the
close.
dance scene, he spent more time with Patty
Yeah.
than he did with her, and she got butthurt about it.
Oh, I
She
know.
was putting her
So
booty
there
on
was a
him.
little
Okay,
bit
a
of-
little bit, but you don't have the Dana Barrett, Bill Murray deal. You don't have
No,
the following romance. Also, you don't have a client. You don't have anyone coming to the Ghostbusters being like, "Yo, here's some money."
Well, yeah, they had phone calls because they got clients because Kevin, he's the one that said this is Ghostbusters, and she's like, we're not. Never
Not the
mind.
first time.
That's where they
That
got
was
the
the second
dragon one
time.
from Lords of the Underworld or whatever.
Yeah,
But they didn't have the client that brought them into whatever the apocalypse was going to be, even though the word was apocalypse, and she told us it was that.
right. Yeah.
The main plot. All right, here's trivia time for you guys. Everybody here has seen the movie other than Trent, right? What's the name of the villain in the new Ghostbusters? No, don't look at your paper. Don't look at your paper.
I don't even
You
have
can't
it
say it.
written
You
down.
didn't see it yet. Hush.
I don't remember his name.
Does anyone just off the top of their head remember his name? I know it's Roland, but does anyone remember it?
No.
That's my point. The villain was so unimportant.
2D.
You remember Kevin's name before you remember Roland's
That's
name.
because he possessed Kevin and
No,
pretty much-
Zool,
you remember Kevin
Gozer.
in the movie
I
because
know.
he is
Oh, yeah.
the
Vigo. We all know these names. For everybody in the real Ghostbusters audience, Sam Haim or Sam Haim.
Sammy.
Thank you.
That's
So
that was one of the biggest arguments that I've seen and read too. That that basically you have this guy who's supposed to be the main villain bringing about the apocalypse,
mhm, mhm.
and you know absolutely nothing about him, and you barely see him.
They do cover it with one sentence of dialogue saying, "Oh look, he had a copy of our book."
Right.
But their book was about understanding the paranormal. Nothing in there was like, "We gonna make a pack, zap these people." Nothing like that. So again, the main plot was really, really thin. You didn't have any subs. No Louis Tully character whatsoever. You don't have the love triangle because there's no romance.
No.
And so now all of a sudden we've dropped off 1, 2, 3, 4. By the time you're done without Gozer, Vigo, and everything else, 6 or 7 plot points completely gone. That being said, still
Well,
a great entertaining film.
I guess instead of the love, they went for the friendship. Because, there was a friendship.
There was totally some girl power and friendship in both of these, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way.
See, I think this movie was a good setup for a sequel.
Amen.
So that's what I look at this movie as. It was a good movie. It's worth spending your money on, and it's set up for the next one. They get back to the iconic firehouse
Yes.
as their home operation base, as their reward for saving the world from an apocalypse.
But don't tell nobody.
Them turning down the firehouse early in the film was one of the high points of the movie for me. That was brilliant. Just them being like, "Oh, rotten hell, no!" Like,
Yeah.
I'm not paying that.
Because it's realistic.
Amen. That was a fantastic counterpoint because you
We'll
expect
take
him to be like, "Oh, yeah, we'll take it. We'll pay whatever we want." No, it's like rotten hell.
Slicker
Love
tonight.
it, or burn in hell. Pardon me.
Right.
A bunch of things that the movie did point on too that I'd like to make sure we get in here is all the cameos.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
there was a ton of cameos. Everybody made it in that movie.
With
Actually,
the exception
no. I don't know if it was meant to look like him, but I did notice a bust that looked just like.
that is him.
Okay.
I'm talking about Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis did not come back. No, he
Rick
did not.
did not want to do it.
Nor did his character. And he has a very legitimate reason for that, and I respect him for that.
I don't know. What was his reason?
Originally, the reason Rick Moranis left acting back in the mid-90s is his wife had passed due to illness. And he had, I believe, 2 or 3 children. I want to say 2. I could be wrong. I don't know the guy personally. But he went through a similar situation growing up, and he refused to leave those kids home alone, kind of a thing. And so he gave up his career, lived off the money that he had, and he continues to do that. Now, he was contacted about the new film, and he waited out, and he said, "You're not doing anything new. This isn't doing anything new for my career that I've postponed and kind of put on hiatus, so really there's no reason for me to come back." He was pretty honest about it, so I can't hate him for it. I did miss a Louis Tully character. I just miss
totally.
Moranis, but I respect him for it. That's fine.
I have
It's a
little
shame,
trivia
but
for you, Mike.
Mhm.
Do you know who originally was going to play him?
Who was gonna play? Was it Tully?
Louis Tully, Rick Moranis' character.
Yes.
It's pretty easy. They were on the
no.
same TV show together.
No, was it Steve Martin?
Nope.
No, the same TV show together.
Oh,
Come on.
Second City TV, people.
I don't know, man.
It was
Candy.
Canadian. Yeah, John Candy.
John Candy.
Yes, sir.
But he wanted to make him have a little German accent. He wanted to change the character.
Yeah, there was a lot of things about the original Ghostbusters that changed, and I think for the better. Nothing against John Candy or Eddie
yeah.
Murphy. I just don't think it would have ended up being the same film that became the cult classic.
No, it wouldn't have been. For sure. But what, Ray was a taxi driver. Winston was the uncle.
Yeah.
Of the hearse owner, yeah.
Yeah.
Sigourney
Yeah,
Weaver was
the-
the mentor too.
That was a little unusual. I didn't see that one coming.
I was wondering what her cameo was going to be, and then she just came out. I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey!" I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, that
She's
one threw me
crazy
for a
like,
loop.
Oh my!
Yeah, Janine was the concierge
Receptionist.
of the hotel.
What do you want?
I did like the way, like I said, they incorporated a lot of different stuff in there. I love the fact that they didn't put the bust.
Yeah, it was
Harold
great.
Ramis in there. That's kind of an homage to him at the actual college. that
Columbia
he was-
University, yeah.
Columbia University. Ray's character was, I thought, far better than. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Bill Murray's character,
He was great.
but Ray's character was like the best thing.
Ray's was a source of contention for the production. Ivan Reitman, when he was given that scene before they filmed it, said absolutely not. No, Dan Aykroyd's character cannot be that knowledgeable. Because the fans are going to say, oh, that's just Ray from another dimension. Or that's Ray stuck in this dimension. And they're going to want answers. And we don't have them.
Mm.
And Paul Feig pushed for it. And he pushed for it. And in the end, Dan Aykroyd was all for it, so they filmed it. In fact, that scene was filmed, put into the movie, went with the test audience before they put that tagline on after the credits. That was agreed upon after, because at that point Ivan Reitman said, yeah, from what I've seen here, I think we can do that.
Speaking of your altered dimensions, did you know that when I'm sure you do, Dan Aykroyd was pitching the Ghostbusters 3 originally?
Oh, all hell breaks loose?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
supposed to be an alternate dimension of New York.
Mhm.
It's a hellish state.
Which
he asked,
they actually did in the cartoon.
Do not open till doomsday. Yes.
he asked for a budget of $150 million, and they said no.
They actually offered him less than what they paid them to do the first Ghostbusters 4 in 1983 for production.
Wow.
Yeah. And he said, well, words that I can't say here.
And just to further the trivia on that one too, you know how much this new Ghostbuster movie cost to make?
I heard it once. I did not look it up.
$154 million.
That's pretty funny. Fun fact on that, guys. $1 million of that went straight down the pooper because of the test audiences. $1 million. Which, again, not much when you're talking about a big budget movie. Pennies on the dollar. But a lot for a low budget comedy.
Yeah, I mean that is a lot of money. This isn't going to be any record-setting movie.
Unfortunately.
I'm
it
saying
did.
that.
It did decent in its opening weekend. I think it did about $48 million.
I don't think it was number one.
No, it absolutely
no.
was
Secret
not.
Life of Pets actually beat it.
Yeah.
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 So
But it's a good, for what it is, it's a good flick. I like you, was really surprised. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's certain nuances in it that made the movie like just totally worth watching.
Kevin stole the show. I'm not gonna lie about that.
yeah.
I'm still going with Holtzman.
It's
help me out with the
Holtzman
sandwich.
is the funniest one.
Yeah.
Holtzman was definitely the funniest there too, and you
I
know,
liked Patty.
Patty was awesome. I went in being a huge skeptic as well. I mean, I'm sitting here dressed like a complete jackass, okay? But I'm proud to be a Ghostbuster.
But you're
And
dressed
when I
as
went into that
yourself.
theater, well, as you all know, I have the tattoo. Even if I'm not in uniform, I'm in uniform. It's always on my arm. And after I heard about this movie and I saw the trailers, I was literally going to go pay to get established in 1984 put across the bottom. Just so there was no confusion. That's not going to be the case now. These girls are Ghostbusters. Every single one of them. They all have a place in the canon. I think they're great. And I think the only shortcoming is because they didn't do what at least me as a super fan wanted. I don't know if the other fans wanted it. But I had the greatest end of this movie, and they can still do it in the sequel.
Right. So let's go on to the. We're running late here, so let's do
Sorry.
a little bit of game I want to call Stump Kent. So my first question for Kent is, what was Winston's starting salary?
All right, that's a very, very good trivia question. Hold on, wait a minute. Steady paycheck. What, $1,400 a month? $1,400 a
It
week?
was $11,500 a year.
Ouch!
Yeah.
Somebody crunch the numbers on either
That-
one of those numbers to see if that was right.
That might have been good money back in 1980.
Yeah, that was back in '84.
If there's a steady paycheck, I
Oh,
believe.
Anything.
What was Dana Barrett's address?
Stalker.
This is my golf tap for Mike right here because he said he was going to get some trivia that was going to stump me, and by God, he did. I can see her door. I can see Louis Tully beating on it. I want to say 3.
It was 55 Central Park West.
Which that
That's
hotel
the
doesn't
whole building. What was her address on the door?
That was, I don't know, that was just,
Oh, much like Monty Python, you just got thrown off the bridge, son.
Oh, no.
You didn't know the question.
Answer this with is 3.
Now we're going to have to throw that in, guys, and we'll put that in the comments, or at least I will tomorrow.
Yep, go ahead, put it in. What was her apartment number? Chris is Googling.
Did it start with 3 or 5? I want to say 3, but that's incredibly low for where it was in the building, and these are things that I should know.
Pretty much close to the top. or
Yeah,
at the top.
that's a rough one. All right, hit
So
me
in
with
the
that.
remake, when the grand piano is destroyed, what song does it play?
The beginning of the
that's
Ghostbusters theme. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Which you could also hear in the trailer.
Yeah, best bit of music that wasn't used in the film.
Yep. That's another thing I wanted to point out while we're here. Is thank goodness they did not play that whole theme song.
Nope, and I don't have the accurate numbers, but if I had to take a ballpark guess, I think it's between 11 and 13 seconds that they use of it. Just enough to hear Fall Out Boy say, "I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid." They cut it off right before they say "of failure," and it was good for the film.
I'm not a hash of another song.
Honestly, they could have taken the song from Big Hero 6, taken out Heroes, and put in Ghostbusters. It would have been better.
Incidentally, Dana Barrett lived in apartment 2206.
2206.
Two,
We're both wrong.
which really, 22, so it would be the 22nd floor. All right, fair enough. All right, that works.
Makes sense.
So, I mean, let's see. You got any trivia questions for him, or did you ask him already?
I think I done asked him all.
Yeah, I asked him most of my trivia questions already during the
Not
thing.
one of these really had to do with the core or heart of Ghostbusters.
No.
Oh.
I'm a little disappointed.
Okay, who worshipped Gozer?
Gozer the Gozerian.
Mm-hmm. Who worshipped him? What?
Sumerians
what-
mostly and Mesopotamians.
No. They were Hittites.
Hittites.
The Hittites, yeah.
Hittites. Yeah.
And it was in the Mesopotamian and Sumerian texts, if I'm not mistaken.
It wasn't Sumerian text, but the name of the people were Hittites.
Which was based on
And
which
who-
reference tome that they use that doesn't really
whose
exist.
book?
Oh, you got me. I don't freaking know.
Maybe Tobin's Spirit Guide. Go to Amazon.com where you can buy Tobin's Spirit Guide for $19.95.
So,
a good read, I will say.
Actually, it's just like a photo book based off of the art and stuff, and it's really weird because it's written by the Ghostbusters if you buy it, and not like something they read out of, which is a little confusing, but it is leather bound. Check it out.
But all in all, I want to say thanks to Kent and Dane and Trent for being on our show this week.
You vocal man, you.
Trent never chimed in as a youth of America.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Ghostbusters?
Is it CD?
Yeah, the movies, the old ones, 1984, 1989 movies. What do you think?
Definitely cool classics. They'll live forever. Definitely.
Yep, and he's going to watch it, the new one tomorrow, so he'll let us know on that too.
So we still have a podcast that we're planning about me watching really crappy mecha animes because I hate mecha animes.
There he goes with the quack names.
So go ahead and please, I need to do like a top 10 list. So I need animes. So just post them on Facebook or YouTube. We check both of them regularly. I'll see them. Tell me what you want me to watch, and I will watch at least 12 episodes of it.
Come on, my
so
anime
we can
fans.
go on there and give a top 10 of my thoughts on mecha animes.
Come on,
Yeah,
KO.
we got that coming up. We got we're going to do a review on Attack on Titan and
Tokyo Ghoul
We're
next
also
week.
I talked to you about doing the best of the best movies coming out for the rest of the year now that summer's about over, all the blockbusters.
Oh, the fall.
So we got some fall movies we're going to talk about and see what we're, in our opinion, would be about the best ones to go watch. And some other stuff coming up. We'll
Yeah,
keep you
we got
posted
one.
on.
Thinking about doing a conspiracy theory one. If you guys got ideas for podcasts, let us know. We'll be glad to review it, and
And if we like it, decide to use it, if you're local, you're more than welcome to come on the show and give us your opinion on it.
All right, guys, you have a good evening. Thanks for listening to us.
Thanks again, Kent and Dane, Trent.
Who you got to call?